Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and hands-on learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. My name is Sylvan and I will be your host. We are back in the FinTech Center of Switzerland in Zurich West. Today we interview Daniel Sandmeier, a longtime investment banker and now startup CEO. The startup Instimatch Global received the Growth Startup of the Year award at the Swiss Fintech Awards last week. The Instimatch Global office fits the startup cliché and makes a very likable impression. The entrance is located on an industrial site and is somewhat hidden. The office is simply and functionally furnished. Foregoing any frills, they focus on their business and on driving further growth. We sit down in two nice yellow armchairs in the conference room and make ourselves ready for our conversation. Before we get started with the episode, I would like to introduce you to SBB Startup. If you think that your company is a good fit for the Swiss Railways, get in touch with them or learn more about their startup programs at sbbstartup.com. Daniel, a very warm welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Sylvan.
Today we're going to talk about your story, the story of Instimatch, and also your personal story. You worked at Credit Suisse for more than 12 years and in general in investment banking for more than 20 years before getting involved with Instimatch. In what way has your corporate career supported your startup journey?
Well, I guess the 20 years of investment banking taught me a lot around business, helped me build a large network in the banking industry in Switzerland and beyond Switzerland, and definitely learned me a lot about leading teams or working in teams and later on leading teams. And I guess also making fast decisions in a fast-moving world, of course. So it's been a very interesting time in investment banking, and it definitely taught me a lot for running a small company right now.
So a great preparation for that new job, sort of.
Yep.
How did you then decide to move from a safe corporate environment to the roller coaster journey of a startup?
Well, after all that time, I really felt like doing something slightly different and change of scene. So I decided actually at the end of Credit Suisse, or actually I had the opportunity at the end of my tenure at Credit Suisse to build a new product aimed at ultra-rich clients in private banking, which gave me the opportunity to build a team from scratch, building a new product line from scratch. And I really thoroughly enjoyed that. So it was really, for me, this kind of kickstarted me and gave me the idea that I think, I'd be ready to run my own small company or join a small company and take a step out of the large corporate world,
Great.
Which I really enjoy now.
So that was basically your startup in a big corporate company.
Exactly. Still with the backing, of course, of a large corporate. So it's somewhat different nowadays, of course. We don't have the backing of a large company anymore. But, anyway, I think it gave me, I smelled blood.
That makes sense. So with Instimatch Global, you're digitizing money markets by basically connecting institutional borrowers and lenders on your platform. What's like the real problem that you solve for these different parties? Why do they actually use your platform?
Yeah. Well, I guess, look, in everyday life, all of us are using digital marketplaces for a vast number of purposes, really. If you go and want to book a hotel or find the best rated hotel, or if you want to book the cheapest flight, you'll go to the likes of booking.com, right? Or if you want to search search for a new employee in your company, you may want to tap in one of the largest pools of talent and go and screen personnel or potential hires in LinkedIn, right? Similarly, to take a last example, maybe if you're looking for a casual date or maybe even meet your future wife or husband, you may go to Tinder. So I'd like to put it like that. Actually, if you're a treasurer or working on a money market desk or managing liquidity for a large corporate, etc. So if you're looking to dispose of excess cash or if you're in need of short-term cash, you may want to join Instimatch Global and become one of our clients.
That's a very good comparison. But what's like the specific problems that you solve for these different groups on your platform?
Well, let me give you, a couple of numbers around cash deposits markets or the unsecured money market. I guess it's still one of the largest financial markets, which has been very much untouched by technology. Which means a lot of trades really happen bilaterally between counterparties over the phone, over chat rooms, through voice brokers. And to our surprise, or to my surprise, when I actually looked into the company or into the very early stage, it really struck me that there's very little data. But the few data points that one finds actually indicates that a lot of transactions happen within the same country, so within the borders of a country. So take a simple example, a corporate treasurer that has excess cash and needs to park that cash somewhere. He'll simply go to one of his preferred banks within the country, which seems logical, and call them up and say, hey, look, I have 100 million to place for 2 months. What do you pay, right? So I guess all in all, we have a lack of technology in cash deposits or in money markets. We have a lack of price transparency for simple fact that there is no central marketplace. There's no stock exchange, which gives you a full look through at bids and offers over a large number of counterparties, and you can see market depth. So you're lacking transparency and market depth. And in result of that, you're also lacking counterparty diversification. So our platform really enables you to trade with a large number of treasurers across borders and across sectors. Our clientele is currently, of course, banks, but we have a larger and growing number of corporates on the platform, asset managers, insurance companies, pension funds, public sector counterparties such as cities, Switzerland, maybe cantons, and all of those make for a great mix and diversifier for people looking to dispose of cash or looking to borrow cash in the short end.
Sounds like you're really, solving an old school way of dealing with the money lending business, basically.
Yeah, I guess, look, we've just taken a very old-fashioned place, or way of doing things and digitized it onto a platform.
Mm-hmm. When building a startup, you usually also face obstacles along the way. So what were your biggest challenges so far in building Instimatch Global, and how have you actually solved them?
I guess, look, biggest obstacles at the beginning is, I'd say finding the right people. Yeah. Is one thing. Clearly want to build a small but very efficient, effective team that starts building the offering.
Do you have any recommendation of how and where to find them?
Not really. I think that we really started, we did start with our own network. I think that it sounds very logical that you'll start your own company with people you trust, Sure. Know you can count on, have the right business logic, right? And understanding. So I guess we started very much with our network, but we've already exceeded those limits. I guess the last few hires have been outside our network. It's just, even as a small company now, we're 13, 14 people, and we have 9 external developers that cater to us. But you have to go and search beyond. Yeah. So coming back to your question, I guess, obstacles. I guess, apart from building the right team, which is not a huge obstacle, but it's something you really need to think thoroughly about. I think is really finding your first clients. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that takes conviction. It takes a lot of convincing people that even though you're an early stage startup, you're really going to make impact and change the world in the segment you're getting into. So I think we were pretty successful in starting here in Switzerland with 20 clients in Switzerland only. Very rapidly. We're very lucky to find our first set of customers. and have since expanded at a really, really, really great rate. We're around 100 clients now across 15 countries, a year and a half later, roughly. So that has been kind of, worry at the beginning finding the clients, but it's not as much anymore. I think it's getting much easier after a certain time when you get referrals from existing clients that are happy using the platform. You get approached proactively by clients. You get approached to people from here that, from hearsay have heard about Instimatch. So I think that's the beauty of growing slightly and being more at a growth stage than a very early stage.
To what extent has your network also helped you to win over the first clients?
I guess, it can help, but doesn't have to help, really. I'll be very honest. And the network doesn't always work. Sometimes even cold calling is better. So,
I think that's a very good takeaway, because many people might think that, you just need a good network, but that's not necessarily the case.
Not necessarily true, no. I guess, yeah, and what else? I mean, funding is definitely a topic for startup. I mean, that's part of the roller coaster or whatever. That's part of the journey. You need funding as the team grows, and even if your business is growing, you need to have a constant eye on your liquidity. I'd say that's probably about it.
Since you're building a platform, I can imagine that you also face the challenge of having a good ratio between lenders and borrowers. Was that ever a challenge that you faced?
Yeah, I mean, we did initially have an overhang on the borrowing side. I think there's a natural overhang in terms of people looking for money, really, and in particular, the biggest part of the liquidity happens in the US dollar curve at this very stage. And we've tried to complement that through a lot of, through a number of measures, really, and have come a long way in adding more lenders to the platform and being complementary to the starting point. So we're happy these days to have quite a large number of quotes. I'd say in January, February this year, we had tremendous months with growing liquidity on the screen and having I think roughly 200 billion of trade intent on the platform in February alone. So,
is there anything you do specifically? Like, do you have a fixed ratio that you look at in terms of lender and borrower ratio that you target, or how do you measure that?
Not really. I guess there should be a reasonable balance to of course create an opportunity for a trade, and it's nothing that's really in our hands. I guess markets will also define partially where, which side you'll end up. I think market circumstances with a changing world may also dictate on which side people are at some stage. Let's see what happens with the ongoing Corona crisis, if that creates actually an even bigger overhang on the borrowing side again, because people will get into liquidity squeezes and need liquidity. So let's see what happens to rates, and that maybe equilibrium that I just depicted before may change dramatically into an inequilibrium again.
Absolutely. Then for acquiring both lenders and borrowers, you mentioned cold calling in the early days, nowadays mostly referrals. Are there any other specific marketing activities that you do in order to attract these people to your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, look, of course, we attend the treasury relevant conferences. So there's a larger number of conferences that focus very much on the treasury function. So we've attended we do attend regularly some of these conferences, get exposure to CFOs, treasurers, etc. There's still a fair amount of cold calling, I have to admit. It's not that it's gone. Referrals definitely have come in the meantime. We attend conferences. We do a lot of social media activity and social media marketing campaigns every now and then as well to create awareness to our target sector, target clientele.
Do you focus on LinkedIn there? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think it's a great tool. So we really love spreading the news through LinkedIn and partially through Twitter.
Nice. So a startup also lives from, supporters, basically, in the early days, especially like you mentioned, fundraising, for example. So you need investors, for example. Who else were other strong supporters of Instimatch Global that really helped you building the company?
Well, I guess goes back to what we just discussed a couple of minutes ago. I think our initial, we have to be very thankful for our first 20 odd customers that we found that helped us kind of build the first platform and finesse it, and ultimately got the first trades on the platform. So we have a couple of very loyal customers that we're very thankful for. You need an investor that believes in your story, believes in you building something that can make a difference in that particular segment. So somebody who's willing to lend you money or to buy a stake in the company, and also potentially help you. I think that's one of the greatest assets you can find actually as a startup, is to find an investor that's not just a financial investor, but what I would consider, let's say, a strategic investor. So somebody has a skin in the game, or somebody who really, will help you build your business and help you make connections, promote you as well. So not just somebody who's looking for, flipping the quick buck and making a big return on investment. So I think we're very lucky to have a very good investor base that helps us build the platform. Yeah, that's it. I think we're looking to, of course, partner up. So I think you need a good mix of all these to support your business in growth.
Absolutely. On the other hand, startups sometimes also face opponents that they have to deal with. That could be competitors, for example. Have you faced any opponents along the journey?
Well, we're being asked very often, who's your competitor? Now, we're very comparable to other digital marketplaces, of course. People compare us to the likes of 360T, which is an FX trading platform that connects corporates with banks. But we're just in another product, right? So people compare us, of course, with voice brokers. That's basically what the process or the business we're looking to digitize, and which I personally think is bound to vanish at some stage, because the younger generation, the millennials that will come into business and work in treasury departments, they don't want to do business with voice brokers. No, with all due respect, I believe they will want to trade through a platform and have a digital marketplace. I mentioned it earlier, a lot of trades happen through Bloomberg chat rooms, which is something I as a trader found very cumbersome, because I could not believe that there are still trades happening actually through chat rooms bilaterally. Because it's just it just cuts out the rest of the market, right? You're doing a trade, leaving out a lot of information, which goes back to kind of my initial statement saying, look, you go to digital marketplace for a lot of needs. You get a good view or a good shot at the whole market. You go to booking.com, you go to Amazon, you go to wherever, and you get great information about pricing, market depth. Where can I get a certain product cheaper? So for me, I think competitors, in that respect, we don't have any exactly direct competitors doing the same. Mm-hmm. But of course, what we're trying to do is unbundle services such as Bloomberg. So we're trying to do something other people do just much better and more focused. So we want to stay true to liquidity management. We're going to attack other products. We're not just in the right now we're doing cash deposits. We're looking to roll out the second product in the coming weeks or months, which is fiduciary deposits. We're definitely going to roll out other product suites, but we definitely want to stay in the short-term liquidity management topic. Mm-hmm. We can imagine partnering up with money market fund platforms and other substitutes for liquidity management. So I think there's a lot of potential if we stay true to the liquidity management topic.
Before we continue with the show, just a quick word on the Swiss Fintech Awards. The Swiss Fintech Awards night, ceremony, and the associated Fintech conference have been postponed from 12th of March to 31st of August due to the current special situation. The organizers are very pleased to have already received the confirmation of all keynote speakers and panelists for this date in order to be able to catch up on the top-class Fintech conference at the end of August. Over the coming weeks, they will be updating their website continuously, so make sure to check out www.fuw-forum.ch/fintech. You said that you basically also want to switch or change the way that people handle these tasks nowadays from chat rooms or voice brokers to your digital platform, building a better product and an easier to use product, is that enough to actually make that switch happening? Or do you do any other like very specific activities to really make them switch? Because I can imagine, if you have a workflow that feels natural to you, you follow that workflow for years, sometimes it's difficult to change something in that workflow.
It's a very good question, actually. I think very early stage, I would say you need to convince people to do exactly what they're doing through the platform rather through the phone or a chat room or something else. So I think that is a hurdle you need to overcome. You need to convince people that the platform is actually easily more convenient, and ultimately, I think the most convincing and appealing one is that you get better pricing, right? Absolutely. So I think that said and done, once people successfully execute their first couple of trades on the platform, they get to really like it and enjoy it. But yes, it's true. It is, in some cases, it is still, it needs some hand holding. You need to, and that's, you need an initial phase, you need to bridge the gap between the old fashioned world of picking up the phone or whatever means you're using. And you need some hand holding. You need to call up customers, say, hey, look, actually, I see you're not logged into the screen today, but there's actually something really happening in a market you might be interested in, and that activates people. So I think from pure sales, and we've been talking a bit about sales, what becomes increasingly important for a startup at a slightly later stage is a CRM function. So client relationship management, people that actually hold hands and do others to keep the engagement level on the platform very high. Of course, we need to stay, we want to be a very, very scalable business. We believe we're a very, very scalable business. The number of potential customers for us is almost unlimited. So, the exciting thing is, I think, as the volume grows, as the platform grows, and the number of client grows, I believe that will, that part of the hand holding as such will vanish again, because the stickiness on the platform will increase dramatically and people will kind of have a fear of missing out. They will log into the platform because they think, hey, if I need to dispose of 200 million, there's no way of not going into Instimatch and actually checking market quickly, right?
But still, there's this point in time where you really need to focus on the customer success to bring them in and engage them with the platform.
Absolutely.
I think that's a crucial message to take away. Recently, you were also awarded with the Swiss Fintech Award as Growth Stage Startup of the Year. So can you tell us a bit more about how and where you were able to grow your company over the past months?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, of course, we started in Switzerland. We were a small team when I started, nearly 2 years ago. We were like 3-4 people in this office. Still running with the first 20 clients. I think we took a step back and developed an entirely new user interface, which has gained us a lot of momentum and made it much easier convincing clients. I think the user friendliness, and that's something maybe I want to enter into, of the user interface, is very critical for us. I think we're trying to bring on a diverse set of clients, if I may elaborate on that one very quickly. I think we have everything from the hardcore professional money market trader or treasurer that's very much used to trading systems, trading screens, which for the regular normal person may look a bit awkward or overloaded with information, to no disrespect, but to other people managing liquidity that have liquidity needs that maybe not on a daily basis, but they log in once or twice a month potentially or whatever. So we really needed to build a user interface that was user friendly for both the professional but also the less frequent user. And I think we really succeeded well in defining a new platform and make it very intuitive and user friendly. And that was kind of an exercise for a couple of months. After that, we started really going out again proactively. Most recently, you asked where did we have momentum? I guess, look, our strength has been so far in the DACH region, of course, where we're kind of home, and the adjacent countries. We have clients in Scandinavia. We have a larger and growing number of clients in in the UK because we have a very strong sales team in the UK. So we have good traction these days with SMI corporates, FTSE 100, FTSE 250 corporates. And we've had great success end of last year with Eastern Europe. So I think we've onboarded quite a large number of banks in Austria, Czechoslovakia, etc., and have entered actually the Middle East. So we've signed a joint venture, or we're collaborating with local partners in Qatar. We've opened office in Qatar. And over the last 2-3 months, we've onboarded a larger number of banks and corporates in predominantly Qatar, Kuwait, and Oman, and are looking to enter other markets such as Bahrain, Saudi, and Dubai, obviously along the path in the coming weeks and months. So our growth trajectory has been, focus on Europe. Don't spread too thinly. Mm-hmm. Let's try to cover Europe as good as we can, Europe and UK. Move towards the Middle East, and the next step will obviously be, not obviously, but at least on our roadmap, will be Asia as it looks. We've done our due diligence on what it takes to enter the Singapore and the Hong Kong markets. We know exactly what it takes. But I think, as a small startup, you obviously, you cannot cater to, you would reach your limits. We have already an interesting situation where we have opening hours 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. Because we do cater to the Middle East. We have quotes on the screen on Sunday. The Middle East is closed on Friday and Saturday. So I think moving into the middle, to the Far East, of course poses other problems or questions. You need to have longer opening hours. Being a digital marketplace, you'll have even longer opening hours with Asia on the screen. You need support lines. You need people on the ground supporting, etc., etc. So as we grow, we just want to stay reasonable, cater to the markets we can to, but obviously we have a large ambition growing into Asia. And of course, the obvious question comes up, what about the US? Yes, we obviously ultimately want to enter the US, but I think, when time comes and we're ready, we'll do so.
Just one follow-up question. You also mentioned the importance of the user interface and the ease of use of your platform. Yeah. How did you actually develop that? Did you do any user testing? Did you have focus groups? How did you test it and make sure that you are actually in a good spot there?
Well, pretty straightforward, actually. I hired somebody who's been, on the IT side of my former employer, one of my former employers, and have actually developed trading floor systems over the past 20 years. So somebody who's, very knowledgeable about systems and interfaces, and they actually designed that interface for us. So I think that helped a lot, having somebody with the business understanding, with the understanding of people actually using the systems. That made a big difference.
So we also want to talk about the future. What can we expect from Instimatch Global and the future, basically? What are your plans for the future?
Well, apart from, geographic expansion, which I guess I elaborated on already quite a bit, I think, at the stage where we are now, we want to create exponential growth. I think for us, it's really critical that after proving the concept and proving that we can, on a one-by-one basis, onboard, quite large banks, large corporates, etc., and grow our community, the question has come up: how can we accelerate, right? So you're obviously looking at striking partnerships with other companies in a similar sector, or with a complementary offering. So for us, what's really on the roadmap is on its way as well, is partnerships with potentially treasury management systems. We're in advancing talks to sign a deal, amongst other, with a treasury management system, which will obviously give us access to, their community, and we will add our product line as an additional service to their systems. So I think that's one thing that will allow us to grow our community on a much larger scale very rapidly. Another way of growing the business and enhancing our offering is a partnership with an FX provider, whereby we look to fill our screen across currencies with the inputs of an FX provider that we're looking to collaborate with. And ultimately, I think one other initiative which is very promising from our standpoint is the whole Islamic banking sector. With our move to the Middle East, we've really realized that bridging the gap between Islamic and conventional banking is something that is screaming for digitalization and screaming for our help, if I may say so. So we've actually only just executed our first Sharia-compliant trade on the platform, I think 2-3 weeks ago, on a Sunday, by the way. So I think there is a lot of need, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but of course, in Sharia-compliant banking, you're not allowed to pay or charge interest. So it's all about expected profit, and expected profit is being replicated through a series of non-precious metals transactions in the commodity space. So we're looking to partner with a commodity specialist, which helps us replicate all the trades behind and actually automate that process. So that's something where we see, obviously, with our move into the Middle East, a lot of potential. I'm very hyped about it, that we can go into that space.
Absolutely. When you actually look for new partnerships, how do you make sure that you align your interest with their interest, that you can actually have a fruitful collaboration?
Well, I guess the question that always comes up first is, what's in it for us, right? It's kind of is the obvious one. I think for us, of course, yes, we need to, I think we have an appealing offering. We have a growing and appealing community. So in general, those discussions, if you find the right partner and convince them that you bring something to the table and the other party obviously has something to bring to the table, it's not such a difficult discussion. It's ultimately the more difficult discussion is then how do you share what everyone brought to the table? So how do you share the revenues or whatever? But look, these are very interesting discussions. But I think there's a lot of interesting startups around. There's a lot of interesting, established companies around that do business, we can imagine collaborating with. But I can tell, that even larger companies these days are very keen to talk to startups. They're very open to having discussions. They listen to us. We listen to them, of course. But they have an open ear for what we propose. I'm not saying it works in every instance, but look, I think that's what's pleasantly surprised me after my 20 years career in large corporates. You always think, my God, you're a 12-person or whatever, 20-person in total company. Right. How are you going to get access to certain accounts or clients? But, we're very happy that we really, get listened to. So I think these partnership discussions are very important to us and very fruitful at the moment, actually. I think those look very promising for our future.
So you really have an exciting future ahead of you. So we are curious to see where this will take you. Before we conclude the episode, I have some rapid fire questions for you. Basically, I give you a choice of 2 options. You make one choice, and if you want, you can explain in 1 sentence why you made that choice.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
So first one, humans or robots?
Humans.
Why?
I guess, even if we build a digital platform, there's still a human behind operating it. I think there's still considerations that may come or not into the decision-making process. So ultimately, yes, we're a digital platform. We're looking to digitalize something. But at the end, we need the human to say, yes, I'm doing the deal or I'm not doing the deal. So the human.
Next one is centralization or decentralization?
In my case, or in our case, in Instimatch's case, I'd say centralization of the marketplace, or a central marketplace with a decentralized database.
A very good, also compromised answer, or a diplomatic answer, basically. Wealth or happiness?
Oh, happiness. I guess, look, these days we're in the midst of of coronavirus in a crazy world, I guess, all that matters is health and happiness these days.
Absolutely.
I mean, not that wealth doesn't matter, but I think it strikes me as a moment where happiness is more important.
I definitely fully agree. Small teams like 10 people or big teams like 100 plus people?
Oh, I've come to appreciate small teams. And I guess, look, I think if I look at our company, of course we've grown, we will be growing, but I'm hoping we can keep the team lean. I think we have a very scalable business because we're a platform business. So I'm convinced we can actually grow quite substantially without growing the team exponentially. So, I love to work with a small team and have an exponentially growing business, actually.
Sounds like a good deal. And the last one, Zurich or London?
Zurich. Look, I mean, it's not where I was born, but, I love this place. I've studied in Zurich. I've worked in Zurich. I've worked in London in between, but, on and off. But really, Zurich feels like my hometown. I love this place and the mountains, the lake, everything. So
good quality of life.
Exactly.
That was a lot of fun, Daniel. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And we wish you and Instimatch Global all the best for the future. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Silvan, it was really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the content, we would be thrilled to receive your rating on Apple Podcasts. That way you not only support Swisspreneur, but also help other entrepreneurs discovering the show and finding more valuable information on how to run their businesses. Next week, we will already be back with an all-new episode of the Swisspreneur Show, so we hope to see you again then for a new episode.